She was just 15 when her world changed forever. A quiet, sun-soaked ranch hid secrets darker than anyone could imagine. Her father, a man everyone in town trusted, held power that seemed harmless at first, until the truth started to surface. Strange visitors came and went, and whispers in the night hinted at things no child should ever witness. She felt trapped, unsure who to trust, caught between loyalty to her family and a growing fear she could barely name. Then came the night that would alter everything. The rancher, a figure both feared and respected, appeared where he shouldn't, his eyes filled with a mixture of anger and determination. Something had to end, something that had been festering in silence for too long. And yet, nobody outside that ranch would ever know the full story, at least. Not until it was too late. As the tension in her life escalated, the boundaries between safety and danger blurred. Every creak in the old house, every shadow in the barn, became a question she couldn't ignore. She had to make choices no 15-year-old should face, and the consequences were already beginning to unfold. Every corner of the ranch seemed to hold a secret. The girl remembered the nights she'd lie awake, listening to low voices echoing from the main house, voices that didn't belong to her family. Her father's friendsmen she barely knew would gather, and though she tried to stay out of sight, their presence always made her uneasy. She couldn't understand what they were really talking about, but the tension in the air was impossible to ignore. By day, the ranch seemed peaceful, with wide fields, grazing animals, and the sun glinting off old wooden fences. But by night, it became a place of fear, where shadows moved differently, and every sound felt like a warning. The girl tried to confide in neighbors, but her father's reputation kept everyone silent. Even those who cared seemed too scared to ask questions. She started noticing things she couldn't explain: locked doors, hurried whispers, and the strange way her father's friends looked at her when they thought she wasn't watching. She felt like a prisoner in her own home, caught in a web she couldn't untangle. And then there were the rumors about the rancher, a man with a dangerous streak and a sense of justice that could turn deadly. Something was coming, and she had no idea how to prepare for it. The night stretched long, and the sense of dread kept growing, leaving her with one question: what would happen when the truth finally came to light? As the days passed, the tension on the ranch became almost unbearable. The girl began noticing patterns in the comings and goings of her father's friends who arrived late at night, who lingered too long in the kitchen, and who avoided her gaze when she crossed paths with them. Each detail made her heart race, and she felt an unshakable sense that something was brewing, something she wasn't supposed to see. Meanwhile, the rancher loomed in the background like a shadow. Known for his strict sense of justice, he rarely interfered unless he believed someone had gone too far. Rumors in town hinted at past confrontations, people disappearing, and sudden acts of violence that left the community whispering. The girl didn't know whether to fear him or see him as a possible protector, and the uncertainty gnawed at her every waking hour. She tried to confide in a friend from school, someone she trusted, but even that conversation ended with more questions than answers. Could she really share the truth without endangering herself? And if she stayed silent, how long could she survive the secrets that seemed to grow heavier each day? Every night, the ranch transformed. Shadows stretched longer across the fields, doors creaked open without reason, and whispers carried through the halls, hinting that events were about to spiral out of control. She realized that the choices she made now could change everything, but she still had no idea which path would keep her safe. The nights on the ranch had grown unbearable. The girl could feel the tension in every creaking floorboard and every gust of wind, rattling the windows. Her father's friends were no longer subtle. Their late-night visits carried an edge that made her skin crawl. Whispers turned into arguments she could barely hear but felt deep in her chest, and shadows seemed to move with purpose, as if the house itself were holding its breath. The rancher's presence became impossible to ignore. He appeared at odd hours, watching from the edge of the property, his gaze sharp and unyielding. Rumors about his past flashed in her mind: people who had disappeared, punishments delivered without warning. She didn't know if he would step in to protect her, or if his actions would only escalate the danger. Every moment felt like walking on a knife's edge, where one wrong move could change everything. One evening, she noticed a confrontation brewing in the main house. Voices rose, doors slammed, and the tension became almost tangible. She could feel her heart pounding, trapped between fear and a desperate hope that someone would intervene. Somewhere in the darkness, the rancher was waiting, and the girl realized that the events that had been simmering for so long were about to erupt. As the wind howled across the fields, she clutched the doorway, knowing that whatever happened next would change the ranch and her life forever. Just as the girl thought she had a sense of what was happening, a new, shocking detail came to light. One of her father's closest friends, the one she had always thought she could ignore, disappeared without a trace. At first it seemed like he had simply left the ranch, but then strange clues started appearing: footprints leading to the edge of the woods, a broken lantern, and faint whispers that didn't belong to anyone she knew. The realization hit her like ice. Whatever was coming, it wasn't just about her father's secrets anymore. It was bigger, darker, and far more dangerous. The rancher, who had been watching from the shadows, suddenly became more than a mysterious figure. His presence was no longer just intimidating, it was deliberate. He moved with purpose, appearing at moments when danger seemed unavoidable. And the girl started to wonder if he had been orchestrating events from the start. Was he there to punish, to protect, or something else entirely? As tension built inside the house, doors slammed, voices rose, and hidden alliances began to surface. The girl realized she could no longer trust anyone completely, not even the people she had once counted on. Each revelation pulled her deeper into the web of fear and secrecy, leaving her wondering how far the darkness would reach, and whether she could survive it. The night air was thick with tension as the girl finally saw the full truth unfold. The hidden alliances, the whispered threats, and the dark secrets all collided in the main house. Her father's friends, the source of so much fear, were confronted by the rancher in a way she had never imagined. The man's eyes were cold and unyielding, and every move he made left no doubt he would not let the darkness continue. Her father, stunned and powerless, could only watch as the rancher exposed the lies, manipulations, and dangers that had plagued the house for years. The friends tried to fight back, but the rancher's sense of justice was swift and unrelenting. In the chaos, the girl realized she was finally free from the invisible cage that had held her for so long. Fear still gripped her, but for the first time, there was hope that she could survive the aftermath. Just when it seemed the danger had passed, an unexpected sound came from the barn. A shadow moved where no one should have been, and the girl's heart sank. Something or someone had been hiding all along, watching the events unfold. The rancher's victory might have resolved the immediate threat, but the final twist hinted that the darkness of the ranch was far from over. The girl understood then that her story, her survival, was only beginning. In the quiet that followed, the ranch seemed almost peaceful. Though the air was still heavy with the weight of everything that had happened, the girl walked through the house, noticing the empty spaces where fear and deception had once thrived. Her father, humbled and broken by the events, no longer carried the same air of control. He finally seemed to understand the consequences of his choices, and for the first time, the girl felt that their relationship might be rebuilt, though carefully, and on new terms. The rancher, having restored a fragile sense of justice, lingered for a moment before disappearing into the night, leaving a promise unspoken that some secrets, no matter how dark, would always be watched. The girl took a deep breath, realizing that courage wasn't about fighting every danger alone, but knowing when to seek help and when to stand strong in the face of fear. Life on the ranch would never be the same, but the girl had grown stronger, more aware of the power of truth and resilience. Shadows still existed, and questions remained, yet she felt ready to face whatever came next. The experience had tested her in ways she never imagined, teaching her that even in the darkest moments, hope and strength could survive, and sometimes, they could even thrive.